Hey guys, Zibboyeye, or just Zib is fine. And Aaron is fine too. This is my longest video ever and I kinda wanna take credit for it with my real name. But potential rebranding aside, today we're digging through the annals of one of my favorite subgenres, found footage. Found footage is such a visceral means of inviting the viewer into horror. But despite its simple appearance, there is often more going on under the hood than the average viewer may think. And for that reason, it's become a style I always look forward to covering on my channel. So in this episode, we're adding to my catalog with a few more of the subgenre's forefathers. From rubber suit aliens that fooled professionals to screams via PC screens over a decade before Unfriended, if you even remember that movie. Look, there is no renowned Screen Life film, so just go ooh and keep watching like I really hooked ya. Because this is forgotten, found footage.
Oh my god, dude.
I love tracing a genre's family tree, because as the style progresses, rules are set. Some stick, some get amended later, and some fall out of orbit. Going back in time, we find what is truly essential of a genre. And we're starting with the earliest found footage movie I've reviewed yet, 10 years predating the Blair Witch Project. It's the 80s when a soon-to-be filmmaker yanks his hair out, dying for inspiration. His idols all made a movie by the age of 25. At 24 years, Dean Oliotto hears the pounding of the clock tick by. Luckily, the desperate man managed to scrape together $6,500 from a pal. But as generous a donation as that was, it was pennies in the world of movie making. Unsure of what to produce, suddenly it clicked. An alien invasion caught on home video. And thus, in '89, UFO Abduction landed on store shelves. I know the cover says otherwise, it later got renamed. Trust me, McPherson tape, UFO Abduction, same movie. But whatever its name, I'm gonna talk about it, so let's peer up and look at UFO Abduction, aka the McPherson tape. The story follows the Van Hees family gathering together to celebrate little Michelle's 5th birthday. Her uncle, Michael, records the proceedings. However, the party is put to a halt when aliens land in the woods near their home. Can the family survive their unexpected visitors? Like with many indie films, the mind behind this wore a lot of hats. Oliotto not only directed his crew, but also played Michael, so add actor and cameraman to his duties. As for his castmates, Oliotto prioritized improv actors. They're convincing and keep the pace flowing smoothly in the tight 63-minute runtime. While off-the-cuff acting is common in the genre, one thing that isn't is UFO Abduction's editing, or rather the lack thereof. A majority of the movie is shot in one take. Any splices present are diegetic, a result of Michael ending recording. I find it interesting because this is before the invention of the unseen character, the editor. Like in the Blair Witch Project, in-universe, someone cut the protagonist's tape making that movie. This goes for some other early entries and even a couple in this episode. But once the genre shed the need for credibility, found footage could be about a giant monster we know isn't real. There's no need for a diegetic editor character now. We accept that the cuts exist for digestive purposes. It just got me thinking how this trope doesn't exist in this movie, then filmmakers invented it to be both convincing and cohesive. But now we don't need it, we take the style for what it is. Forgive me for nerding out so early, I just love found footage. So let's focus back to the movie and its then new craft. Like many of the genre's greats, the McPherson tape doesn't show everything. It takes a minimal approach to lighting. The night is pitch black and even the house becomes quite moody. As for Michael, his family derides his want to record anything from the get-go.
You know, he's gonna get suntan and that one eye is just gonna be
Little raccoon action.
Yeah, little raccoon.
I think it's great.
It's so real to call it out. Anyone who's seen a movie like this has probably made a similar comment. It's like satirizing the trope, why are they still filming, before it's even become a trope. Speaking of Michael's habits, this one bit when he zooms into a lantern made me chuckle. He's pretty aimless, like a kid with his new camcorder. It's charming and different from the usual cameraman role. Beyond the lens, the interactions feel authentic too. Conversations split and overlap each other, and that's as soon as the opening. It's downright chaotic later.
Okay, but when that gives us
we gotta come through the house.
gives us 5 more minutes to get on the road and get the hell out of here!
Then let's go!
Shut up!
No, right now.
Not every character is memorable, but I ended up caring about each of them as a member of the family unit, likely due to their believable dynamic. The brothers' father recently passed. As a result, the eldest sibling, Eric, sees himself as family guardian.
I'm in charge of this family now, okay?
Eric reaches for the authority of tribe chief, but he can't always grasp it, as demonstrated by what might be my favorite scene. After their first sighting, the boys hoof it back home, 2 snatching rifles. You can practically feel the vibrations off their itchy trigger fingers. Until Ma convinces them to simmer down and watch Michelle open her presents. You've got these testosterone-pumping men ready to shoot anything that moves, but the old lady and little birthday girl hold the real power in the house. That said, some may tire of that pace to the action, let alone seeing this one room for so long. The plot progresses not too dynamically in that regard. But it didn't bother me. I saw an underplayed tension to it. I already mentioned the limited cuts that kept me in, but that's not all. Michael's brothers leave for their truck. Watching them walk into the deep blackness of the outside is like seeing them enter the void. Also, remember the transition from excitement to calmly doing a family activity? That trend occurs a few times in the narrative. It feels very human. I enjoyed that struggle to counterbalance fear with comfort that underlined both tones in the film. Action scarcely erupts, but rather gets bottled up. But even if you put a lid on that fear, that just builds the pressure. And I felt that simmering undercurrent of tension. Having to put on a face to pretend everything is okay at the dinner table. It's oddly appropriate for a family get-together. But that's why they're doing it, for each other. Which brings me to the overall sense I got. This dinner table is the real MVP of the movie. It's the glue that holds the team together. It's where it all started with the birthday celebration. When it hits the fan, the table is the Van Heese's go-to spot to gather and calm down. And when someone wanders off, everyone scrambles to get them back near the cozy amber glow at the table. The table symbolizes family unity. The characters reconvening there shows the priority their bond takes amid these threatening circumstances. It's tender and sincere. For horror, it left me feeling surprisingly warm. But what does that all mean for the Van Heese's survival? Well, spoilers until this time, and let's get to it. Terrified and tired, the family has had enough of Michael's videophilia and convinces him to put down the camera. No, don't angle it there. You're practically inviting those greys through that hall. You see? It's hokey, but for a work that plays alien cliches rather straight, it didn't bother me too much. How many ways can you end it? I appreciated the laugh at least. And yeah, that's probably my shortest spoiler segment ever. It's a quick watch, so I'll let you find out the rest. Since I think it's worth a try. The McPherson tape, aka UFO Abduction, takes found footage's first steps and remains standing. While it may strike some as dull, I found an endearing quality to its unique structure. A structure that really sold its sense of family. As a fan of the genre, I admire its early attempt at this new realism, even if the ending kind of shoots any credibility in the foot. Except it didn't. The film took on a, let's say, cult fan base after release. While Alioto forgot about his work, turning attention to the future, someone found his tape at a video store and cut the credits. Their re-edit winding up in the hands of alien fanatics. The alteration made it as far as 1993's International UFO Congress Convention, where it caused an uproar. Researchers and experts, including retired Colonel Donald Ware, fell for it.
If they were actors, they ought to get an Oscar or an Emmy.
The movie's rarity didn't help either.
It began to seem even more obvious to me that possibly someone, namely possibly the government, was trying to grab all the copies that were out there.
But eventually Alioto let the cat he never tried hiding out of the bag. It's not real. So there ends that conspiracy. Except it didn't. The filmmaker's word did little to sway these die-hard fans.
I have a feeling that still that parts of that video may be 100% authentic.
I am not convinced the thing is a hoax because I know that our government policy is to insert disinformation into every major UFO case or released document.
Alioto never meant to trick anybody, yet here we are. When the truth comes out with evidence and these experts don't buy it, who do you think's to blame? People will believe what they want to believe. And I believe it's about time to move on to our next subject of a similar flavor.
Quiet. Oh my god. Oh my god. Hey man, come on. It's my camera. Come on.
That's an alien.
Give it back. What?
I swear, it's a alien.
Oh man.
Having discussed UFO abduction, I might as well touch upon Alien Abduction, Incident in Lake County, a broadcast remake. A few years passed since UFO abduction, and Dean Alioto has moved on to television. After twisting Alioto's arm about his indie piece, his boss finally sees the tape and goes, "I can get us a TV movie deal." Before he knew it, Alioto scored just that at UPN. The program aired early 1998, a year before The Blair Witch, and earned the highest ratings for the channel's slot at the time. This was likely Minnie's introduction to the genre. So let's see what hooked all those viewers and look at Alien Abduction, Incident in Lake County. The story starts at the McPherson family's Thanksgiving, but before they can cut any turkey, the household is attacked by beings from another world, while the 16-year-old Tommy records it all. Yeah, the McPherson tape is the movie following the Van Heeses, and not the tape about the McPhersons. What a confusing change. I guess UFO Abduction sounds a tad generic, but is labeling it after its remake any better? I suppose it's to bank on this one's greater popularity, but I don't know, it's weird. Anyways, about the found footage. The family still makes cracks at the lead's attachment to his camera. Glad they kept that. Maintaining realism, he switches batteries at one point too. Batteries likely drained by the camera's light left on for most of the film. The more shadowy original feels more real. But the lighting here isn't like, say, Quarantine. It's shoddy enough to keep me immersed. That said, the visuals still feature some good instances of darkness here and there. Also, unsurprisingly, Alien Abduction sheds that one long take from the original. Nothing bad, just mentioning to support my unseen editor insight. Which reminds me of another distinction. Airing as a sort of documentary, short interviews occasionally intercut. Most, if not all, add nothing to the content, but a few caught my eye. Such as Alioto's cheeky cameo.
I've worked in the sci-fi horror genre for about 15 years now, and created some pretty elaborate special effects. If it is a hoax, I should have been the one that directed it.
Or this ex-military character who parodies Colonel Ware down to his rank and remark.
All the government denial regarding the tape fits right into their pattern of disinformation.
Coming from its humble predecessor, the largest divergence is the more in Alien Abduction. This is not a weekend rental, this is TV. Viewers could flip the channel at any moment, so the plot kicks in much sooner. And it kicks farther too. The house is bigger. The aliens open fire on the brothers upon first contact. And the action escalates higher. Almost everything has been amped up. The aliens break inside quicker than I expected. Afterwards, the family peers around the dark, narrow upstairs hall. It completely shatters the comfort of home from the original. I felt so anxious seeing that second floor. The McPhersons aren't as stable a household as their Van Hees counterparts. As per true American Thanksgiving tradition, someone just has to be racist. Melanie brings her black boyfriend. Unfortunately, her and Tommy's brother, Curtis, take issue with his appearance.
What's the matter with you?
Hey, don't you talk to me. You tell this asshole. This is nuts, man.
I think that pause scared me more than the invaders. While the movie pushes 30 minutes past the original, the content more or less warrants it. Surprising, since the initial draft ended up estimated at half the requested runtime. So Alioto and his co-writer had to manifest a whole other half to the script in 4 days. I'm impressed, nothing feels too stretched out. So there's more action, more content, more conflict, what's the issue? Well, is it too much? The aliens pull several tricks from their sleeves. Ray guns, paralysis, a weird beamball, and so on. The scripting process left its mark here. These guys pull out new powers at the snap of a finger. It's a contrived means to extend the plot. The visitors also mind control little Rosie, obvious to everyone but the characters who constantly let her out of their sight. Like this one bit when she tries to free a trapped alien.
Rosie, come on.
What the hell?
Come on, Rosie. Rosie, come on.
Get
what
away
are you
from
doing?
The door.
What's with you?
Oh, the little scamp trying to free the murderous intruder. She's just acting a little off because of this itty-bitty invasion. Looking past these blemishes, I still enjoyed the movie. Although I missed one thing from the original. Its faster pace and heightened conflict, while beneficial to drama, left practically no chill time at the dinner table. I didn't get the sense of familial bond that characterized UFO Abduction. I want less action. I want to see them sit around playing cards. I can hardly take myself seriously saying that. Many fans prefer Alien Abduction, likely due to its higher entertainment value. But I appreciate that certain charm from where it all began. But how does the remake's ending stack up? Well, spoilers until this time, and let's get to it. The family tries to cool down, hoping for Curtis's soon return. Tommy exits, recording one final testimonial.
My name is Thomas McPherson. I don't think we're gonna make it.
It's eerie how close they wandered to the Blair Witch's iconic confessional, just 1 year before the famous scene. The finale closes pretty much the same as the first, camera angle and all. Still a tad hokey, but a bit better at hiding the come-in hallway. Alien Abduction, Incident in Lake County, pushes the genre one step closer to what we're all familiar with. While a tad too much now and then, this remake kicks almost everything from the first movie up a notch, particularly the suspense. It's more conventionally entertaining and easier to recommend, but I still have a soft spot for its roots. But what good is my recommendation? Alien Abduction has no release on disc, digital, or streaming. By the way, if there was one, I'd hope they rename it the Van Hees tape just for the giggles. I had to scrounge the net for this. I'm lucky someone had a recording. I do lament the lack of a Blu-ray. I'd love a release with both cuts. Both cuts? Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, I've been reviewing the international version. During production, UPN's management changed, and the new head scoffed at Alioto's movie, cutting it down to an hour which earned the station some of their highest ratings. I picture some suit bitterly counting the very earnings that proved them wrong. And I'm not too off. Afterwards, the salty head of the company banned the program from further airings. So I'm very grateful people have archived both cuts online, allowing me to talk about some of the changes in UPN's abridged cut. First off, the show's advertisement.
The home video you are about to see documents an alleged case of alien abduction. A family from Lake County, Minnesota was reported missing by relatives on Thanksgiving weekend. A search of their remote farm produced some disturbing evidence and a 6-hour home videotape.
UPN sold alien abduction on a hoax, and it doesn't end there. This edit leans further into documentary with narration and way more interviews. Almost all of the latter exclusively shot for UPN's version. The global version can be thought of as the Alioto cut. His crew planned those interviews. But the network gave the filmmaker and co the boot during their re-edit. I only emphasize this to assert UPN's full responsibility for these testimonies. 3 interviewees are authentic authorities on UFO phenomena. They made their comments unaware of the special's fictitious basis. Actually, they didn't see any footage at all.
Some Earthlings have indeed been abducted by aliens. We're dealing with the biggest story of the millennium. Visits to planet Earth by alien spacecraft.
It's scary you can manipulate real experts' remarks to legitimize a fake tape they never laid eyes on. But what I've pondered is, how did people fall for this stuff? Like the Blair Witch, how did people continue to believe it after reading character played by yada yada? Well, here are Alien Abduction's credits on UPN.
Next, an amazing scene. Take a look. Mudslides, incredible flooding, lives washed away.
Wow. Just wow. You lying scumbags! This is a hoax, just straight up. The global cut is innocent. Alioto never meant to deceive, and the truth is out by roll call. UPN manufactured all this else and never dropped the act. It's a hoax. But condemn UPN as I might, look at the Blair Witch. Many of its fans fell for it, flooding the setting's real-life locale. This is a question less of intent and more of means. How overt should studios have been regarding the reality or fiction of their production? Is immersive, ARG-like marketing dangerous? I suppose not if you can distinguish what's real, which reminds me of a quote cited in the UPN cut.
There's this quote about reality. Reality is whatever doesn't go away when you stop believing in it.
These are kind of big ideas, so let's let them ruminate while we move on to the next movie.
The video button.
Duh. Much better.
Hey. Took you long enough?
She's a little slow getting started, okay?
This next one is the first Screen Life horror movie. I don't blame your perplexed look right now. Screen Life tells its stories through computer screens featuring characters via webcam communications. The style hasn't taken off yet. I want to say the most popular one is Unfriended. I remember a bit of buzz going around it back in high school. That may just have been the novelty though, cause I don't hear anything good on it now. But I'm getting years ahead of myself. Inspired by the Blair Witch Project and the advent of webcams, Michael Costanza wrote and directed the Collingswood Story. His film initially released via small self-distribution way back in 2002. And I'm talking small to the point that the Wikipedia page doesn't even mention it. Sorry guys, I kinda like to flex when I can give you more information than a casual search. A few years later it hits festivals, DVDs, and eventually, here we are. Still a relatively niche movie, and one I'm happy to spotlight, so let's log on and look at The Collingswood Story. The story follows Rebecca, who just moved to Collingswood, New Jersey. Back in Virginia, her old friend John rings her up on her new video call app to celebrate her birthday. However, after they call a psychic, the two get sucked into the mysterious and cultic history of Collingswood. First, how did the director achieve such a novel presentation? Costanza filmed his cast individually. In other words, each member had no fellow actor to play off of. Actors who saw the dailies had to recall the characters' expressions and tones during recording so to match. And that's just if the scene had been filmed yet. Luckily, the cast had a solid framework. Unlike typical found footage which favors in-the-moment acting, Collingswood Story greater emphasized the script. Repeated rehearsals were encouraged so to attain a consistent intensity between performances. Costanza also cut the film, a process on which the style leaned heavily. Without the characters interacting, the pace of the conversations rested on his shoulders as editor. After learning about the production's handicap, I was surprised. Actors performed as naturally as their dialogue flowed in the final cut. But how does this screen life pay off on screen? Displaying only one cam at a time, it cuts often. It's harsh at first, I got used to it, but it would likely fare better if they foresaw webcam apps displaying both users. The camera is stuck in look behind you mode. Someone's gonna come through that door, I just know it. People talk to the camera while it frames near everyone in a medium close-up. Despite being a subgenre of found footage, it completely flips that mentality. With found footage, you're often staring at the actors' backs. But in screen life, characters share eye contact with the viewer. The film and style possess a heightened intimacy. Far removed from shaky cam, characters sit in front of a static camera for 90% of the film. It takes the move out of movie. It didn't bother me. If story and character are good enough, I don't mind how talky it is. But it's not visually enthralling. That being said, Collingswood Story spices things up within its means. Rebecca's laptop allows for some mobility. The woman also sends John a few recordings of her town. They're a refreshing sight and open up the world. I'm thinking of this technology. When movies try to be hip, they often come off as out of touch. But this film centers around the tech of the time and still manages to be ahead of the curve. Releasing in 2002, Collingswood Story predates Skype. At one point, John sends Rebecca a list of random numbers to call, kind of like a predecessor to chat roulette. After one encounter, she remarks,
"I cannot believe people. I mean, they have these cams in their homes and they leave them on what, 24/7?
This line got my mind on the casualization of cameras around the home. Doorbells, little standy cams, those fridges with a camera inside to show the food, your phone, game consoles, laptops now have webcams built in. This bit just made me wonder how often in our homes are we not in front of a lens today. Although often ahead of its time, it's sometimes of its time. Time.
100 feet of phone cord. Now, while you watch it live, I can wander all through the house.
Do any older viewers know anyone who did this? Even though dated, it still feels like it's onto something. Like now a character would just switch to their phone and move around. I feel like the genre has legs now more than ever. Call me Polly Purebred cause I'm rooting for this underdog. Okay, I'm gonna keep that in for my girlfriend. I should touch upon the characters using the tech. I gotta mention John's buddy Billy, whose wallpaper and room say all you need to know. He gave me a good laugh.
Why do you think you got her that video phone? So you could stalk her online?
As for the two leads, I couldn't help but smile seeing Rebecca toy with her new cam call. But in the thick of it, she's confident, giving her fear later more punch. Meanwhile, John worries he missed his chance to date Rebecca now that she's moved away. I have a soft spot for simps. I'm also in a long-distance relationship, so the online communications connected with me. A standout moment occurs when the two keep the call going at their bedsides as they sleep.
Sleep together?
Safest sex we'll ever have.
It's silly, but in a completely human way. They need to feel safe however they can. I love it. They have the comfort of each other's company, but physically, they're both alone. I felt solace and unease. On that note, let's talk about the spooky mood. I'm glad they showed the outdoors adorned with fiery autumn leaves. Plus, pumpkin carving and decorations. Watching this in October just really got me in the Halloween spirit. Due to the limited imagery, much of the horror is conveyed through dialogue. It has a creep factor akin to listening to a ghost story. Many of the duo's calls occur at night, only having each other on their little screen. I got the feeling I do when I stay up late and realize I'm all alone. The camera also adds to the tension. It's like we're trapped in this perspective. Although that does not reflect upon the film's genre, which may lend more legroom than I expected. Like the music. And I don't mean the early 2000s songs in the background, even though that's my jam. I'm talking about these low droning instrumentals that, although simple, still got to me. I find even horror stings off in found footage, but this can get away with it. Rather than a discovered tape plot device, the narrative is told through the lens, in this case the webcam and the PC. But even then, that's not consistent. The film shows several instances of visions. Nothing to do with a computer here, you see her dream. I turned my head, but I soon accepted it. If this happened in found footage, I'd be more taken aback. Because its ARG-esque roots laid the groundwork for that genre. As fans, we expect that commitment to reality even if we know it's fake. Collingswood Story has no "this footage was discovered on a hard drive." The film never prefaced itself in our reality. As such, it can play with more conventional cinematic flair. And I'm curious to see if that sticks the more I explore screen life. But for now, let's see this ending, so spoilers until this time, and let's get to it. John and Rebecca learn a local cult used to perform rituals in her attic. Rebecca investigates while John begs her to book it out of the house. Rebecca carries her laptop through the attic. It enters familiar found footage territory here. John's futility comes to a head. As much as he wishes to protect his crush, all he can do is watch in dread. Deeper in the attic, Rebecca encounters the spirit of Alan Toshi, the cult's originator. But then something opens John's door, called it, and kills the young man in the same manner as Toshi's rituals. Rebecca grins at a toy shaker associated with the cult, closing the film. Let me unpack a bit. Toshi's victims were all women. In fact, John suspected Toshi was luring Rebecca. Even the psychic warns her,
"He'll cut your eyes out."
Yet, John suffers this fate. It stumped me. Why did Toshi off the man and spare the girl? But I think he changed his MO to maintain his MO. Let me explain. Toshi can't just kill Rebecca like he can John. His sacrifices are self-inflicted, as implied here. Also, dialogue suggests romantic undertones to Toshi's influence over his victims.
She doesn't care for you anymore. She's got him. Be afraid of his love.
Rebecca was able to resist the cultist's will because she loved only John. Yet, though John wanted nothing more than that, that love made him a target. With her affection out of the way, Toshi took complete control of Rebecca. Hence her smile at the cult symbol. Under his thumb, Rebecca will reach the same end as those before her. But that's just my theory. The ending reminds me of that from the Blair Witch Project. The conclusion is readable enough that it satisfies, but peering deeper opens up a mystery. Not nearly as many people have seen this as the Blair Witch though. So please watch the movie and give me your 2 cents. I'd love to see more theories on it. The Collingswood Story ushered in a new genre, and it deserves attention for it. The film well utilizes the tech of the time while resisting age. Though the work leaves the visual department rather bare, the believable characters and spooky mystery drew me in. All in all, a promising start to a genre I'll keep my eye on. But before looking ahead, let's look back to this last piece of forgotten found footage.
The program you're about to watch is a unique live investigation of the supernatural. It contains material which some viewers may find to be disturbing.
Our final subject is a TV movie so controversial its home country hasn't aired it since its premiere over 20 years ago. In 1988, writer Stephen Volk pitched his idea for Ghostwatch, a mini-series following a paranormal investigation. However, when the BBC lacked interest, the idea came about to cut the story down to 90 minutes. The twist? Distant from typical drama, Ghostwatch would adopt the front of a live broadcast, a concept that lit passion for producer Ruth Baumgarten and director Leslie Manning, but one that sparked outrage across the country upon its sole airing Halloween 1992. So let's see what all the fuss is about and look at Ghostwatch. The story follows the BBC's live investigation into a supposed haunting the Early family has had to endure. The crew watches over the house while skeptic Michael Parkinson and believer Dr. Lynn Pascoe host the strange events to come. I'll first mention the presenters. Parkinson and Dr. Pascoe hold different beliefs, but maintaining cool demeanors as hosts, they calmly push back at each other's views. There's a subtle dynamic and drama beneath their interactions. Not to mention, recognizing the self-playing cast, many Brits had a predisposed affinity for these familiar faces. As you may have guessed from the setup, the cinematography differs from the usual found footage. Intentionally professional, the camera work is stable, smooth. The mounted cams around the house also evoke a proto-paranormal activity feel. The fresh style wasn't the only thing that convinced viewers. The production employed several real TV personalities such as Craig Charles, whom I know from Red Dwarf.
You ever see the Flintstones? Sure. Do you think Wilma's sexy?
Most notably though, Michael Parkinson presents as he's known to do. A role he's so comfortable in that, unlike his castmates, he ad-libbed his dialogue. That's right, rare for the genre, the dialogue had a solid paper backing. It surprised me, the writing was already credible. Characters appear human, like in this unflattering moment with the mom.
One day I looked in Susie's exercise book from school. Oh, I was so shocked. I was going to hit her, I was so mad.
Other aspects like errors, interruptions, and the like further sell the act. Slowly paced, the movie can't be too active or else it would feel staged. In painting realism, the devil's in the details, and this one's a bit devilish. Like this one where one of the girls walks by the TV playing the very same quote-unquote live show. Then these newspapers actually have fully written articles. Manning, the director, anticipated freeze-framers taping it. But on VHS, I don't think anyone could tell. I could hardly read it in HD. An insanely thorough commitment. But here's my favorite detail. Mr. Pipes, the ghost, haunts the broadcast. He's super well hidden. Looking out for him is like a Where's Waldo Nightmare edition. Not only did it make rewatching it quite fun, but it's scary in its own right. Your pal might cite him and you don't. It creates an unstable viewing. Just check out this bit. Pipes is there, gone, then there again. You're not sure if you just saw that, especially when you couldn't rewind to make sure. Which brings me to the facade. The ostensibly live nature expanded the fear like the viewer was part of this event. But unfortunately, it doesn't translate to modern mediums one-to-one. As I said, portraying reality, it begins quite slow. Fine for those tuned in expecting a live broadcast, but popping in a disc, I watched it as a movie. So I went in and out of the beginning. But it picks up after the 30-minute mark with some eerie and surprisingly dark moments. Before a last third, I really sink my teeth into. So why don't we just jump right into it? I'll save the theme for after. For now, spoilers until this time, and let's get to it. As the paranormal occurrences ramp up, Dr. Pascoe struggles to understand it.
You don't know, do you?
No, I don't.
Without the doctor's authority, it's like, click, we're in the dark. The backstory comes together and the build-up pays off in a hectic climax. Amidst the chaos, Dr. Pascoe realizes what they've done. By inviting the viewers to tune in, they have unwittingly created a seance, summoning the vengeful spirit into the studio. Parkinson then trails off in the dark set, muttering under the influence of Mr. Pipes. The twist is great. The relationship between audience and program turns out interactive. This evil has been channeled by viewers like you. Thank you. Watching this again, the symbolism came into view. Earlier, one of the kids fakes a phenomena, wanting to assure viewers believe them. When caught, she says,
"It was what you wanted, wasn't it? We just gave you what you wanted."
And yeah, don't people tune into this stuff hoping to see evidence of ghosts? Also, I can't not think about the meta writing, as Britain soon found out this whole thing was fake. But if they kept watching, they wanted this content. And by the end, it is their very viewership that invited the ghost into the machine. Inspiring a few of the minds behind Ghostwatch was the sensationalized coverage of the Iraq War that made them question the validity of what they were seeing. Show business is not a vacuum. A show doesn't exist and people incidentally watch it. A show exists because people will watch it. Ghostwatch was fabricated, but the country ate it up. Its 11 million viewers don't lie. Studios make what people want to see. In the same way that viewers summon this evil spirit, viewership determines what gets produced. The media can sell its own fabrications because someone wants to buy it. As the child said, "We just gave you what you wanted." The ending of Ghostwatch demonstrates the close proximity between the TV and the couch. We may criticize the news for weaving a narrative a certain way, but really this power is bestowed by the audience who wants to hear that story in the first place. Ghostwatch is a sophisticated experiment whose nuance I only fully absorbed on a repeated viewing. Its live front still has a unique spot in the genre today beyond the immersive tactic it was back then. While it can't hit the same now, the horror nonetheless slowly sucked me in as it went on, concluding with a suspenseful ending and brilliant theme. And so, Ghostwatch came to a close like all programs do. But something more horrifying than apparitions awaited over the horizon. Droves of angry Brits complained about the broadcast, making headlines the next morning. A key gripe centering around the deceptive presentation. But how much was intended to deceive? Producers Ruth Baumgarten and Richard Broke wanted to go all in on the facade. People would miss out on the joke, they said. But at the behest of BBC One's controller, the channel signaled the show's true, or I guess fake, nature. Credits played. Radio Times revealed the cast list and listed it as a drama. The Screen One drama logo kicks off the broadcast. And preceding that, this.
Now on BBC One, Screen One presents an unusual and sometimes disturbing film marking Halloween.
That said, if you didn't read the Radio Times, or came in late after a night of chaperoning trick-or-treaters, you're left to your own wits. Speaking of the little tykes, parents listed them too as victims of the BBC's wrath. Though not every kid was shaking in their costume going by this letter.
Dear Ghostwatch organisers, I loved Ghostwatch. Me and my family didn't think it was very true though. I liked the ones where a man woke up and found his kidneys were gone.
Many little ones sat in front of the telly in horror.
My youngest child, who was 10, rushed out of the room, vomited in the hall, was absolutely ashen-faced, wouldn't even talk about the thing for 2 or 3 hours.
Maybe they should have put something like this at the start.
So if you have sensitive children, maybe you should tuck them into bed early tonight instead of writing us angry letters tomorrow.
Not like they were far off.
The program you're about to watch contains material which some viewers may find to be disturbing. We should also warn our viewers that the things on this tape that they might find a little bit distressing.
Well, to say, I think it's high time probably that your kids were in bed. I mean, it is past the 9 o'clock watershed, isn't it?
The drama aired after 9 p.m., the time allowed for mature programming. So if a parent let their child watch it, who's to blame? The producers apparently, as the network fed Baumgarten and Broke to the lions on Bite Back. A show where the public airs out their grievances right to their offender's face. And it was feeding time. The phone number marked a point of contention. Representatives intended to reassure callers of the show's fiction, but with the influx of rings, many couldn't reach them. An oversight. I try to maintain some formality on this show, but I can't here. These upcoming complaints are stupid. Like this girl's objection to the presence of children.
Why did you have to bring the children into it? But it wasn't funny. It wasn't funny at all.
Wow, you're right. This horror movie wasn't funny. Gah, I should have let her do the review for me. Well, I guess Hollywood wrap up their filming because horror movies aren't allowed to have kids anymore, even though it has been a thing for decades. Another person actually took issue with the fact the show warned them.
We built warnings into the program.
I feel the real reason for including that statement from Michael Parkinson is really to create dramatic effect and not really a genuine sort of statement to warn people about the nature of the program. It creates a very heightened sense of drama.
How does that make any sense? If you believed it was real, then these came off as genuine warnings. In which case, you can't read them as dramatic effect. If you did, you knew it was a drama. In which case, what are you complaining about? Either you were fooled or you weren't. Thankfully, Baumgarten says about as much.
We can't win. If we don't warn the audience, we are accused of not warning the audience. If we do warn the audience and take really reasonable precautions, we are accused of heightening the stakes.
All in all, the two put up a good fight, fighting back the bite-backers. But it was a losing battle. Watching it, you'd think this kangaroo court charged these two with treason.
Should the BBC, and it may be a slightly extreme, I mean at its most extreme anyway, the point is, should it betray the trust that the nation has in it?
The show's true purpose is made no clearer than when this loud-mouthed man does his damnedest to zip Baumgarten's lip.
Right. And I'm sorry, I underestimated. Can I please make my point?
No, please. It's called bite back. I don't want to nibble.
Let him finish up and make the point.
I don't want a nibble, I want a bite. This was a talk show, but this was not a discussion. They essentially asked, how do you plead? But this wasn't a trial. These people were not jurors to be swayed. They were a mob out for blood. And what fueled their rage? Getting tricked instead of treats? Their most valid complaint is having their concern aroused for unreality. But their other grievances bear no basis. Yes, I defend the production. Not everything went right even by their own admission. But one thing I've tiptoed around went horribly wrong. A young, mentally disabled man believed the program so much he thought Mr. Pipes haunted him. The man's way out of his problem, one no one should ever resort to. Ghostwatch's deriders were upset the show was fake. I'm upset this is real. I hate reality because I have to accept it. Eventually, the Broadcasting Standards Commission heard out the victim's family, ruling this. The BBC had a duty to do more than simply hint at the deception it was practicing on the audience. Although I don't contest that, I can't think of much else they could have done. The BBC is tax-funded, no ads air during their shows, so no place to put a bumper. The only thing I can think of is a post-credits reassurance it was mere play. Which they did, although following another program an hour later.
If you were with us for our Ghost Watch earlier, may I reassure you that it was just a story, and all's well here at Television Centre.
How much can you warn an audience? Ghostwatch aired, meaning latecomers missed any warning. Now with streaming, everyone starts at the beginning. But some people anxiously wait for that skip intro button. Like my mom and sister, fast forward through opening credits. Yes, it hurts me inside too. My point is, even if films include a warning, studios can't grab the watcher's head and force them to read it. They can't guarantee all their viewers are past a certain age. In this case, they can't guarantee the viewer's mental age. And even then, not every child took it for truth. I appreciate safeguards, but nothing is foolproof. No one could have foreseen this. No one is to blame. A tragedy is a tragedy. Remember alien abductions advertising? It pushed a lie. But Ghostwatch tried to signal it's fiction, yet still. Media should be upfront and accountable, but viewers engage with it somewhat independently. Think back to those ufologists. Even when told that little indie film was just that, they still considered the tape factual. People will believe what they want to believe. And belief is key to Ghostwatch. When first hearing from the mother of the household, Dr. Pascoe states,
"Well, the first thing we can all do for a start is believe them."
Our first instinct is to believe what someone tells us. Contrasting this, the mother shares some newspapers that latched onto her story.
"I believe in the devil," says Spook House Mother. Did you say that?
No, I didn't.
This questions the media's reliability. Parkinson and Pascoe later have this exchange regarding a poltergeist.
Well, I mean, of course, a lot of people would have it that there's nothing there at all.
Yeah, well, a lot of people would have it at one time that you couldn't walk on the moon.
Referencing the landmark in television history, seeing is believing has been the backbone of broadcast news. But Ghostwatch asserts when watching film, a malleable medium, your eyes can't always be trusted. The public accused Ghostwatch of breaking its faith in the BBC. But really, the program only proved that level of trust unfounded in the modern age. For a short moment, Ghostwatch shattered audiences' sense of truth. At least by the end, there was no debate it was fake. But many lies don't have an end. When someone denies climate change or says that documented historic travesties didn't happen, what matters the truth if people won't believe it? I'm thinking about that quote earlier.
Reality is whatever doesn't go away when you stop believing in it.
I don't buy it. Gender, nationality, sexuality don't exist, they're mere social construct. But even if I stop believing I'm an American, I'm still subject to US law, stopped at foreign borders. And a banger being both a crap car and a sausage in British slang would still confuse me. These byproducts won't disappear just because I shed my belief. It suggests the reality of such concepts. When I know 100% they're made up. It's at this point I realize I'm equivocating real. I should disambiguate. There is a solid, objective reality. If you saw my last broadcast review, truth with a capital T. But there is also a constructed reality that impacts us just as much. A truth with a baby T. Unified belief, even in the manufactured, can make a baby truth as powerful as the biggie. But the capital T truth, the real deal truth, only has as much power as a cohesive shared reality provides it. Ghostwatch shattered audiences' shared reality for a short hour and a half. But in a society of mass information, misinformation, and disinformation, fractured reality has become more common and rendered the truth elusive. Now, I'm not saying doubt everything. That's a road to wacko conspiracy theories I don't endorse. To give that one quote credit, turn off belief to assess evidence from an unbiased POV. I look back at the Blair Witch and laugh at how many people fell for it because the proof was always there. Maybe I'm oversimplifying, but a critical and logical evaluation of evidence should point towards the truth. And I guess that's it. My longest video. Let me show you. I have almost 50 pages here, and I don't know how to end it. It's quite monumental for me. I at least hope that's a good ending to it. Thank you immensely for letting me share my thoughts with you for this long. I've been Zibboyeye, or just Zib is fine, and even Aaron is fine too still, and thank you so much for watching. Zibbo, bye bye! Hey guys, I usually don't do a voice over my credits, but this has been, as I said, a monumental video, and I just want to say thank you once again, thank you for watching. If you liked it, please consider giving a like, subscribing if you want to see more. Also comment which one of these films you found the most interesting. But once again, thank you so much for watching. Take care, everyone.